It doesn't take a dramatic intervention to begin reversing the damage. I've seen more healing happen from laughter over coffee than I have from pills prescribed in a clinic. Human connection is the most underused medicine in the world, and yet it's the most effective. When someone you care about walks into your hospital room, sits down beside you and simply says, "I'm here," something shifts, breathing steadies, heart rate improves, even pain lessens. There's power in being seen, heard, and remembered. One patient, Mr. Dalton, taught me this better than any textbook ever could. He was in his late 70s, came in after a mild heart attack. His vitals were stable, and the procedure went smoothly. But I noticed something strange during his recovery. Despite his physical progress, his energy stayed flat. He didn't speak much, ate very little, avoided eye contact. Something was missing. One day I sat by his bed and gently asked, "Do you have anyone coming to visit you?" He shook his head. "No," he said. "My wife passed 10 years ago. My son, well, he hasn't called in months. I think he's busy." There it was again, that quiet surrender. The belief that others have moved on and so must you, that your worth is measured by how little you inconvenience the world. The next day, I made a call to a hospital volunteer group. I asked them to come by just to sit with him. Talk, listen, play cards if he wanted. Something changed. The second week, he was eating better, smiling more. One of the nurses told me he'd started humming to himself again. It wasn't a drug, it wasn't a surgery, it was presence. Connection breathed life back into a man whose heart had technically been fixed, but whose spirit had not. So many seniors carry this quiet belief. If no one checks on me, maybe I don't matter anymore. But let me tell you something, you do matter. More than you know. You've lived, you've loved, you've shaped lives. Some you know, some you'll never see, and you're still shaping them, even now. But if you let yourself vanish into loneliness, the world loses your wisdom, your laughter, your stories, and you lose the warmth that keeps your heart beating, not just in function, but in purpose. There's an ancient saying, the heart that gives gathers. But I'd add something to that. The heart that connects heals. This isn't about suddenly throwing parties or being the center of attention. It's about allowing yourself to be reachable, letting people in, even just one, a neighbor, a cousin, a friend from church, a local senior group, even a stranger who might just need you as much as you need them. You're never too old to start again, never too late to reconnect, and never too far gone to come back to life. The truth is, most of the seniors I've watched die from broken hearts. Didn't have to. What they needed wasn't more procedures or specialists. They needed someone to sit with them at lunch. They needed a hand to hold in the morning. They needed to feel just once more what it's like to be part of something, even something small. And they needed to believe they were still worthy of love, attention, and care. You are, right now. No matter how quiet your home is, no matter how long it's been since your phone rang, no matter how often you've told yourself, they're better off without me. They're not. Because the moment you disappear into silence, the world loses something precious, and we can't afford to lose you, not yet. You've still got stories to tell, wisdom to pass down, hands to hold and hearts to warm. But it all starts with one brave decision, to stop the silent habit of withdrawing and choose connection instead. Because if the body runs on blood, the soul runs on love. I once asked a patient what the hardest part of aging was. I expected him to say something about physical pain, lost independence, or medications, but instead he said this: "It's not the arthritis or the pills, it's that no one uses my name anymore." That moment stopped me cold. He didn't say he missed activity or freedom, he missed being known. You see, the greatest damage caused by loneliness isn't in the heart's arteries, it's in the erosion of identity. You stop hearing your name. You stop being asked for advice, people talk around you, not to you. And over time, you begin to wonder if you even exist in the same way anymore. This is how that dangerous habit takes root. Not loudly, not all at once, but quietly, like dust gathering in a room no one visits. Let's talk about what it takes to reverse it. To break the habit of emotional withdrawal and replace it with something far more powerful: intentional connection. It doesn't matter if you're 60 or 95. Your soul is still very much alive. And it is never too late to bring it back to the table. So how do we do that? We begin where all healing begins, not with action, but with truth. Here's the first truth you must accept. You are still worthy of connection. No matter how many mistakes you've made, no matter how long it's been since someone visited, no matter how many relationships have faded, you are still worthy. Loneliness lies to you. It tells you that your time has passed, that you're invisible, that no one would notice if you reached out or if you didn't. But the truth is, you're still here, still breathing. And if there's life in your body, there's purpose waiting to be lived. I've seen men in their 80s fall in love again. Women in their 70s start writing letters to their grandchildren. Seniors who had been silent for years suddenly light up in the presence of a dog, a child, or an old friend's phone call. Healing doesn't need grand gestures. It starts with something as simple as being seen. So what does intentional connection look like? Sometimes it's making the first move. That might feel uncomfortable at first, especially if you're used to waiting for others to come to you. But courage often begins in discomfort. Call your daughter even if she hasn't called you. Text your neighbor even if you're not sure they'll respond. Join that community center group even if you feel awkward. You're not doing it for them. You're doing it for your heart, for your life. Connection isn't about being social. It's about being human. There was a man named Luis, retired teacher, lost his wife 5 years ago. When she passed, so did his will to engage with the world. He told me, "I don't want to be the old man in the room. No one knows what to say." Too, so he stayed home every day for 4 years. Then one morning, a letter arrived. It was from a former student, now in his 40s, who said, "You changed my life. I hope you're still out there." That letter broke him open. He joined a book club, started walking in the mornings and waving to people again. He started living again, not because someone dragged him, but because he remembered. He still mattered. There's something remarkable that happens when we step toward life again. It steps toward us, and it doesn't have to be big. Even just opening your door and saying hello to a passerby can create ripples you'll never fully see. But here's the deeper truth. Loneliness isn't only about others forgetting you. Sometimes it's about you forgetting yourself. Do you still speak kindly to yourself? Do you still listen to music that moves you? Do you still savor the quiet joy of a warm drink or a soft morning? Reconnecting with life means reconnecting with you too. You are not the sum of your aches, your losses, or your years. You are a full, complex, vibrant soul who still has light to give. One of the most heartbreaking things I've heard from patients is this: "I stopped reaching out because I thought people would just pity me." But you know what I found? People don't pity authenticity. They crave it. When you speak your truth, when you say, "I miss you," or "I'm lonely," or even, "Can we talk?" you're not being weak. You're being brave. And your honesty becomes a bridge that others are often relieved to cross. So here's something I encourage you to try tonight. Write one name down. Just one. Someone you care about. Someone you haven't spoken to in a while. Someone you used to enjoy being around. And tomorrow, reach out to them. A call, a letter, a visit, whatever feels right. Don't worry about what to say. Just let your voice be heard. You'll be amazed what happens when you take the first step. I've seen this small act turn people around completely. Lower blood pressure, improve sleep, restore hope. Because when the heart feels connected, it works better. That's not poetry. That's biology. Remember, the habit of emotional withdrawal is not broken by waiting. It's broken by doing. Even a small act of courage can interrupt a years-long pattern of silence. And if you're thinking, well, no one really cares, let me tell you something. Someone does. And if they don't yet, it's only because they've forgotten how much you meant to them. So remind them. Remind yourself. Your presence is still a gift. Your voice still matters. Your heart still beats, not just to keep you alive, but to keep you connected. And if you've been living in silence, it's time to speak again. Not because you have to, but because you deserve to. There's something you need to understand. Something that most doctors don't tell you. Perhaps because they haven't seen what I've seen. Loneliness isn't just an emotion. It's a biological force. A silent storm. It doesn't just affect your mood. It rewires your brain. It shrinks the part responsible for memory. It dampens the region that processes joy. And slowly, it convinces you that connection isn't worth the effort anymore. This is why I say, with urgency, with compassion, this habit of withdrawing is killing us more quietly than any disease ever could. Let me explain how. Your brain is a social organ. It thrives on connection like your lungs thrive on air. When you speak, when you laugh, when someone touches your hand or calls your name, your brain lights up in ways that no medication can mimic. It sends signals to your heart, your immune system, even your digestion. But when you're alone too long, when the days blend into silence, when you go entire weeks without meaningful interaction, your body starts to shut down systems it believes you no longer need. It's like a garden with no sunlight. The soil stays, but the growth stops. Your blood pressure rises, your sleep becomes shallow, inflammation climbs, and worst of all, your ability to bounce back from illness weakens. That's not a theory. It's measurable. I've seen it on scans. I've seen it in charts. And more than anything, I've seen it in eyes that have grown dull from lack of warmth. One of my patients, Mrs. Harlow, lived alone for 15 years after her husband passed. She was once full of color, baked cookies for the entire block, hosted church dinners, knew every bird in her backyard by name. But gradually, as neighbors moved, family got busy, and her joints made mobility harder. She withdrew. Not because she wanted to, but because she felt she had to. I don't want to bother anyone, she told me. I'm just the old lady with stories no one has time to hear. Her heart didn't fail all at once. It faded, like a flame with no oxygen. And I remember standing over her chart one evening, knowing that no dosage of medication could give her back what she had truly lost. The will to be part of life again. But I'll tell you what gives me hope. The brain is malleable. Even at 80, 90, beyond, our neurons are still listening, still waiting for us to say, it's not too late for me. When we reconnect with others, our brain literally begins to heal. New pathways form, mood improves, memory stabilizes, even balance and coordination benefit. That's how deeply connection matters. It's not soft, it's survival. And this is where I ask you to pause, to breathe, and to take stock of something important. What are you doing today that brings your mind to life? When was the last time you had a genuine conversation that made you feel heard? Laughed so hard you forgot your worries? Hugged someone without rushing? Asked someone, how are you really? And waited for the answer? These aren't luxuries. These are essential acts of maintenance for your heart, your mind, your soul. If you've been withdrawing, if that habit of quiet fading has taken root, please, do not shame yourself. This isn't about blame. It's about awareness. You have the power right now to create change, even a small change. Start by making a daily connection goal. One person, one check-in, one conversation, even 5 minutes. Write a list of names, people from your past, your family, your community. People you've lost touch with, then pick one. Call them. Write to them, remind them of a memory, ask how they've been. Share something simple, something real. You'll be amazed at how many people have been waiting for you to reach out. We think people forget us, but more often they're waiting for a sign that they haven't been forgotten either. And if you truly feel there's no one left, no family, no friends, then I want you to consider this. There are strangers in your town, in your building, maybe even next door, who feel exactly like you do. Volunteering, attending a senior meetup, joining an online group for your age or your interests. These aren't just activities, they're lifelines. Not just for you, but for others. Your decision to reconnect doesn't just save your life, it offers life to someone else. I once met a man named Eli at a community chess club. He was in his early 80s. His family lived overseas and he didn't think anyone had use for him anymore. But he played one game with a shy teenager who'd never known his grandfather. And that one game turned into weekly mentorship. That teenager went on to college and wrote his entrance essay about Eli. Do you see? Your story's not done. Your presence can still be a turning point in someone else's. And as a heart surgeon, I've come to believe something deeply. We don't just die from illness. We die from the stories we don't tell, the hands we don't hold, the lives we don't touch. So let this be the day you decide to touch one. Because if you're reading this, you still have time. Your heart is still beating. Your brain is still listening. Your soul is still waiting to be reawakened. By now you've heard about the dangers of loneliness and the quiet ways it steals from our hearts and minds. But today I want to leave you with a message of hope. A way forward that turns what feels like an ending into a powerful new beginning. Because here's a truth I've learned after years of working with seniors like you. Our greatest pain can become our greatest purpose. When you've felt the sting of isolation, when you've lived through the ache of being forgotten or unseen, you gain a unique strength. A wisdom that only comes from having walked through the shadows and still standing. You have something precious to give, and it's far more powerful than you realize. It's the gift of presence. Presence means showing up, not just physically, but emotionally, with your full heart. It means listening when others want to be heard, offering kindness when it feels easier to turn away, sharing your story even when it feels vulnerable. I want to tell you about Rose. She's in her late 70s and lived alone for many years after losing her husband. At first she was hesitant to join a local senior group. She said, "What could I possibly offer? I'm just old and tired." But slowly, Rose began to share her love of gardening, teaching others how to grow tomatoes and herbs. Her joy was contagious. The group blossomed. Friendships grew. One day, a young woman brought her granddaughter. The child had trouble speaking, and Rose patiently worked with her, teaching her about plants and patience. That little girl started to speak more clearly and smile more brightly. Rose realized something beautiful. Her loneliness gave birth to a new purpose. She became a healer, not just of gardens, but of hearts. Your experiences, your stories, your very presence can become a light for others still wandering in darkness. You don't need to be perfect or have all the answers. What matters is your willingness to reach out, to show up, and to keep loving. That's how we break the habit of withdrawing, by becoming bridges instead of walls, by transforming loneliness into connection, by turning silence into stories shared, and in doing so you strengthen your own heart, body and soul. Because living with purpose is the ultimate medicine. It lowers your blood pressure, it boosts your immune system, it ignites your spirit. If you've been hesitant, afraid, or unsure, let this be your invitation. Find one way to give today. Write a letter, make a call, volunteer your time, share a smile. It doesn't have to be grand, it just has to be real. Your life is still full of meaning. Your heart is still capable of love. Your story is still worth telling. And when you step forward with courage, you'll find you're not alone. We are all connected in this great human journey. So stop the habit that steals your light. Step into the warmth of connection and let your heart beat strong, full, and alive. If this story moved you, share it with someone you care about.